My name's Clara and I have bipolar disorder. And today I want to talk to you about hyperreligiosity versus religious experience. I think the first thing that would be helpful would be to give a definition of what hyperreligiosity is. I think we already know a lot about religious experience, but hyperreligiosity is kind of a foreign term for a lot of people. Basically, it's a religious experience in the context of a psychotic episode, such as you might find in mania or schizophrenia. Religious experience, on the other hand, in and of itself is something that happens in many different religions. It doesn't really matter what. Muslims have them, Buddhists have them, Christians have them. And it can be induced through fasting. It can be induced through taking certain kinds of drugs. It's something that you can actually bring into your life and not something that necessarily is thrown on you when you're going through some sort of psychotic experience. When I had my hyper religiosity, I thought the world was coming to an end, like in biblical terms, coming to an end. And it was actually thrilling for me to have that sort of feeling that the world was coming to an end, because it just felt like there was so much pain in the world and that it just needed to be redone or something. And I also thought about my friends from overseas, especially my friends from overseas, because I figured that they were all a part of this, and that at the end of the world, we'd all see one another again and be able to share each other's stories and embrace one another. And I really looked forward to that because I hadn't seen my friends in such a long time. There was, I think, some religious parts of it that I think were actually God at work, and that I wasn't actually harmed in any of these situations. I'm not going to tell you the full story of what happened in my mania in France, because that's in my memoir, which is already done being written. It just has to go through the editing process, and we need to find a publisher and all that. But I want you to read it in my memoir. I don't want you to learn all about it here. But basically, I went on a sort of pathological journey through South France, where I had these experiences where I could have been put in danger, like my life could have been in danger. I could have been raped. I could have been hit by a car. But none of those things happened. I ended up being taken to a psychiatric hospital in South France where I was safe and taken care of. And then I was sent back to the United States. My last hyperreligiosity was last year, about 17 years after the first one. And I knew that I was going through a mania at the time. I kept telling the doctor that my brain was on fire, and he said, "What does that mean?" And I said, "Well, it just feels like I have more information in my brain than my brain is able to handle." And that was information that had to do with the end of the world, that the world had been destroyed and redone many, many times, and this was just another time that it was going to be destroyed and redone again. And so this was just a cycle, a vicious cycle, or a beautiful cycle, if you want to see it that way. I don't know. I saw it as beautiful. And again, I was dreaming that I would see my friends again, the ones that I hadn't seen in a very long time, that I lost touch with because they were so far away. And I wanted to see them again. So that's basically what happened. The 2019 episode that I had, I was in a car accident where the car was totaled, but I came out without a scratch. And that's what I believe was of God, that I could be in this car accident and just come out completely fine and be able to go to a psych hospital and get the care and help that I needed there. I've met a lot of people who've had religious experiences, which are experiences that cannot be explained by science. They just sort of happen. And when people have them, it increases their faith in whatever religion they have. At least from my experience, from what I've seen. I don't know much about religious experiences, but But I do know that those who have them have their faith strengthened pretty much every time. So that's about all I have for now. I'll be back some other time.